Welcome to our Jackson home. Front porch discussion without the front porch. I'm here, as always, with my partner on the mic, Luke Pruett. How are you doing, Luke?
Jim, I'm doing fantastic. It is a brisk morning in Jackson, Tennessee.
Speaking of brisk, what do you do to combat the briskness? I'm sort of combating it myself. What do you do, Luke?
Layers. I'm a layer guy. I like winter clothing, and I have been sold on the vest as of recently. It's a new thing in my world, but I cut those sleeves off, core body heat, Jim. It's fantastic.
Hey, Larry the Cable Guy would agree with you. You know, something else you can do on cold days like this is you can enjoy a good cup of coffee, but it's not enough to just enjoy a good cup of coffee. You want a great cup of coffee. So,
I agree.
Given that, tell us who we have here in the studio today, Luke.
We have the owner and operator, the connoisseur of great coffee in Jackson, Tennessee, Cole Sanders. Welcome to the show, Cole.
Thank you, guys. It's quite a lead-in the morning. Yeah, thanks so much just for having me in here. So.
Now, Cole operates a coffee shop in downtown Jackson called Alba Coffee House, and it's near a historic hotel. Isn't that right?
Yes, we're actually in the we're on the street level, Baltimore street level of the New Southern Hotel.
Okay, so where are you from originally, and how did you choose to come to Jackson to live and operate a business in?
Actually, I'm originally from Corinth, Mississippi, so I pretty much lived there my whole life until just outside of school. Moving off to went to Mississippi State for a while, and also went to University of North Alabama in Florence, and finished my degree there. Moved back to Corinth, and where my wife and I lived for a while. We actually moved to Jackson because of her job. So she actually works at Jackson General as a nurse anesthetist. So we moved up here for her career. She went through the program at Union, and that kind of brought us to this area. So
did everyone in this is a wager my family and I have. Do the kids really learn that song, How to Spell Mississippi? M-I, crooked letter I, crooked letter I, humpback I.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes.
Cole, you just gave a ton of fodder. All right, let's start with Mississippi State Bulldogs.
Yes,
you
let's
riding high?
Start. Yes. We're on. I don't even know that Cloud 9 is really the. We're above that right now. So we've got a few more hours of hope until about 2:00 today. We kick off against at Alabama.
We need one of our former guests, Barry Cooper, here to debate you right now. He's a huge Crimson Tide
I know
fan.
Barry.
Yes, he's an unapologetic apologist for the Crimson Tide.
Right,
man. I think this is a huge Saturday for y'all. It's the last day that you're ever an underdog if you win convincingly.
That's true.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, I hope. So we'll see what happens, but we've got some energy going this year. So
were you born into a Bulldog family in Mississippi? How's that divide happen?
No, this is crazy because my sister actually went to Ole Miss.
Whoa,
so I went to State.
Toddy.
My sister went to Ole Miss, and Thanksgiving is the most interesting time of the year around our house back home. So, yeah. But I don't know. I just I guess wanted to ring a cowbell since I was old enough to hold one. So I don't know. I don't really know where that comes from, but it did. So
which is a very valid desire as a young kid.
It is.
So will you be texting her today, talking a little trash?
Yes, I probably will. Depending on how the game goes, if it's going good for us, I'll be the worst person to talk to on the planet probably.
Yeah. So. Well, good. Well, we needed we've got an Ole Miss connection, and that Hugh coached here for a while.
Right.
And was at Lambeth.
An excellent guy, by the way.
He is a great dude. So we needed a Mississippi State connection here.
There you go.
I went to Washington, D.C. recently, and there were Mississippi State fans everywhere. And I thought, y'all had to dust off those shirts a little bit and pull them out.
It's great. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
So, and then you went to UNA.
I did.
Home of the Lions, right?
Yep,
There's a giant lion there on campus.
Yes.
And
Una, there were two. I don't know. Maybe there's still two, but it's Una and Leo.
That's right. Yep. And what did you end up studying when you were in school?
I actually have I've got a bachelor's degree in computer information systems.
Okay.
And I actually also have a MBA that I got from UNA.
Very cool.
In the process of work life, I actually worked in IT for a decade before we moved up here, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, so that's that's where that came from.
Very neat.
But,
So you're using your business acumen now.
yeah, to some degree, I would like to think so, but I trip and fall through everything every day. So I'm constantly feeling like the new kid on the block. You know, that's some days I'm doing good just to have the door open. I feel like so.
Yeah, and so your wife's one of the superheroes of medicine. Putting people to sleep, I feel like is that occupation.
She is, and it is crazy because she just. She's got an interesting story herself, but she went to nursing school just because her mom was like, hey, why don't you just apply for it and see what happens. When she was a freshman in college, you know, wasn't really, she was like, oh, okay, I'll just apply for it and see if I get in just to do it.
Yeah.
So she works as a nurse for a while, and then she was like, hey, I've got a couple people I know that applied for this program. They're in it now. I was like, maybe I'll apply for it. So I was like, okay, well, have at it. So then she applies for it, and then she gets a call back for the interview, and she's like, now what I do? I'm
That's
like, well,
hilarious.
you go to the interview,
That's
And
great.
it's so funny because it seems like, looking back, you can see this path.
Wow.
That, but, while everything's going on, you're just kind of like, okay, what's the next step? We just get through tomorrow. That's
Man,
good,
We talk about providence a lot on our Jackson home. I say we. Jim's the theologian in the room.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Jackson's a town that's not on everybody's radar.
Right.
And so people's journey here and people's reasons for staying here are often intertwined with providence. It really is amazing. And I'd like to give a shout out, Jim, real quick.
All right.
To an entity that we would never give a shout out to because you take it for granted here, but that's West Tennessee Healthcare. Bringing great people here, you know. You said she's at Jackson General,
Yes.
is that right?
Yes.
So thanks, Bobby Arnold and the good folks at West Tennessee Healthcare for running our town economically.
Right.
Now, you mentioned when you were back in university, what was the name of it again? UNA?
UNA.
UNA. When I was doing research for you, on you, we discovered that you worked at a place called the Rivertown Coffee Company that was originated by one of your friends.
Yes.
Was that the first experience you had working in a coffee house? Or
Yes, absolutely.
How was it working there, and how did that inspire the environment of what you brought to Alba down here in Jackson?
Oh man, that's the root of this whole thing, because John Cartwright is the guy at Rivertown. So I grew up with John. John and I, when we were in high school, we were obsessed with playing music. And so this is how our friendship kind of kicked off like this. Everyone else was doing the standard high school thing, whatever, on the weekend. John and I were locked up in a room somewhere with a couple of guitars all night long. And so that's kind of how our friendship grew. So I was going to UNA, a coffee shop, the original coffee shop in Florence. I think the name originally was, maybe it was Aromas, I think, and it shut down. John had been working somewhere in South. I think it was while he was at Mississippi College. Actually, he worked for a coffee shop in
Jackson.
Yeah, in Jackson. So then he moves back to Corinth for a little bit and works at KC's Espresso, the little coffee shop downtown Corinth. Okay, so I'm in Florence, going to school. John moves to Florence to open Rivertown and to kind of set out on his own path.
Wow.
So while he's there, I kind of, I along with a couple other friends there in town, we kind of helped him get the ball rolling there, and so that place was what I knew of, really what we considered kind of relational coffee, and so that was my experience. It was this family, it was friends, it was who we had, who came in there. We knew what you were going to drink before you walked in the door, that kind of thing, and so that was my experience with it. And
what year is this?
Oh man, this is so forever ago now. This
Yeah.
was 2003 maybe.
Okay. Starbucks aren't even in every square foot of our country yet at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it was just it was wild because we started with this thing, we tripped all the way through it, and then he's bouncing over there now. So
Wow.
it's great.
See, I remember when I went to school here back in the early 90s at Union.
Right.
And you had Lambeth still there, you had Union, and you had Lane College and a bunch of other high schools. And there were many coffee shops that came and just went as quickly, because you either have the business side, all business, which is Starbucks,
right,
or you have the other bit where it's more of a hangout,
right,
but you can't keep the capital going to keep the doors open.
Yeah.
And it's a very tenacious thing. So if you ever see a coffee shop that's open for an extended period of time and does both those things, you got to really tip your hat to the ownership and operator on that one.
Right. It's a tremendously difficult dance. Like my thing is there's two different perspectives that you can tackle it from, just like you had mentioned. So a lot of people are in the business of just turning over dollars, which I'll confess, I need to learn how to do that.
Hey, nothing wrong with making money.
So my thing is right now is, we want people to feel like family when they come in.
Yeah.
And that's just what I'm used to. That's what I know. I mean, originally from small town Mississippi, it's just, everybody in Corinth back home. And so moving to Jackson with 100,000 people in this county, Madison County, and kind of being one of the new kids on the block, it's interesting. All the conversations we're able to have in there.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a, that to me, that's the exciting part.
Well, let's talk more about Alba specifically, and we've got some young professionals here in town who both have business sense and care about the relational side of coffee and art, and we'll talk more about that in our second segment on Our Jackson Home with Cole Sanders.
The sun peeks over the hills like the smile of a beautiful woman. As you prepare for your day, sleep pulls at you like the tenacious bull. Where do you go to fuel your body, heart, and soul for the day ahead? My friend, you go to Alba Coffee House. Alba is a traditional coffee shop focusing on handmade quality drinks, including traditional coffee and British teas. Come, enjoy pastries, ice cream, artisan sandwiches and wraps. Clear your head before, during, or after work. Watch as the loving hand of the barista measures the coffee and steams the milk in the traditional way. Because at Alba, my friends, you aren't just a customer, you are a family.
Alba is located at 112 East Baltimore Street in downtown Jackson.
Stay thirsty, my friends. Thirsty for coffee.
Welcome back to Our Jackson Home. We're here with Cole Sanders from Alba Coffee. Can you tell us how Alba came to be? What is the background of the name Alba?
Okay. I'll give you the short, long story. So the crazy thing is, last March, my wife and I are driving around, and it's an awful, terrible Saturday. It's rainy, cold, terrible, and I wanted a cup of coffee. And I just didn't. I'm nothing against Starbucks. I just wanted to go to a mom and pop shop.
Yeah.
So we had lived here about a year and a half, and so my wife is like, "Hey, what about Green Frog downtown?"
Sure.
And so I was like, I had no idea Green Frog was here, and so I was like, "Yes, that sounds great. Let's go." So we drive downtown. And we pull up to the shop, and it had closed the day before. So it closed on a Friday. And my wife and I are both having equally the most depressing March Saturday we've ever had for just no particular reason. It's just cold, dreary, nasty, and it's a Saturday, and we're like, let's do something to get a little joy today. So,
and not only are they closed for the day, they're closed permanently.
Closed, period. And so in this strange stroke, I guess, we pull up, and I'm driving. I pull the Jeep up and park, and my wife, who never does anything like this, says, "I'm just going to get out and go take a peek in the windows." Well, she does, And there are these two guys in there, and it was the guys that actually ran or owned and ran the Ugly Mug coffee shop.
Sure.
Okay, so
From Tim Johnson. Tim Johnson's shout out for doing a great job with
Yes,
Green Frog, and then
Tim's
this
a
is
super
the
cool guy.
this is the transition.
yeah, so we we're talking to these guys and just asking them, hey, what are you guys doing? And we were just coming by to try to get a cup of coffee, and they're like, well, you're out of luck. We're painting the place. We're going to try to open up back up in a week or so. And we actually had some mutual acquaintances from Florence with one of the guys. And so we were talking and started talking coffee, and basically he was like, hey, why don't you come in Monday and talk to us about maybe working at the shop here? And I had been doing IT consulting in town, and some of our work had kind of dried up, and so I was just like, I was shot in the dark, okay, sure. This whole thing in this building kicks off with me interviewing with these guys and actually starting out for the 2-month stint that was of Ugly Mug as the kind of the general manager there, which was just from sitting on the couch to walking back into a coffee shop after a decade or more, which was insane.
Yeah.
And so basically what happened, Ugly Mug was there. It was just a funky formula, and so it seems like our food numbers were going up, our food sales were going up, our coffee sales were going down because there was just some formula with the drinks, and it was just a number of different things that just didn't work right, didn't feel right with the drinks. And we couldn't really craft drinks there. And so that and that was kind of, to me, was kind of the heart of the issue in the place. Is like, hey, if I go in, I want to enjoy the process.
Wow.
If I go in a shop, there's something about seeing, smelling, hearing it.
Yeah.
And that to me, that's the heart. Or anything that somebody makes with their hands. It kind of, you really want to kind of take in all the senses of what does that mean? Get all of this empirical evidence.
Sure.
Of this product that someone rolls out.
It's a craft that you're receiving.
Now,
It's a
you
craft.
mentioned that word craft, and you can go to a lot of places here in Jackson to get a bad cup of coffee.
Right.
But there's very few places you can get a great cup of coffee.
Right.
Now, everyone has their secrets. Now, I'm not going to ask you to give away your coffee making secrets, so I'll
Right.
flip it a little bit. What are some of the mistakes that you see people doing that result in a bad cup of coffee? Some people say freeze the beans. Some people say don't freeze the beans.
Right. There's a lot of things that go into that. For one thing is the roast date on the coffee right from the start. Like you want to use that coffee that's been roasted, hopefully within a week or two of having those beans roasted, because they, like everything else, break down over time. So the more gas that the beans let off, the more just they chemically break down. They lose flavor. They lose a lot of things as that gas begins to leave the beans.
So basically, you're saying use the beans quickly because they're farting to death.
Really, yes. Use it or lose it. and so, yeah, that's one way to put it. So that's kind of the start. That's the first thing. Is okay. Well, how fresh is the bean? So that's the first thing. And if you start with old beans, you can just hang it up right there. So you start with really fresh coffee. Then the next thing you need to do is just make sure you handle it appropriately. Like make sure it's in the proper container, something that'll, like, if you see the coffee bags have the funky little vent.
Oh, yeah.
The bag,
Sure.
that everybody squeezes and smells that thing. I cannot remember for the life of me what you call that valve. But the crazy thing about that little cheap plastic valve is it lets all of the CO2 out of the bag. Then that's actually that's the gas that carries the aroma out of the package for you, and it doesn't let any air back in. So it kind of lets the beans naturally degas, I guess.
Wow.
So once you go from that, you need to put it in another container, make sure that thing's airtight, but you lose something when you do that, because the natural thing about coffee is the gas needs to leave
Right.
the beans.
Sure.
And so there's a natural breakdown in the beans. It kind of needs to happen for it to be, for it to stay in the state it needs to be in. So, but you want to take advantage of that before it loses too much.
So take us back to, as Jim's getting into the specifics of a great cup of coffee. So we'll interweave the craft of Alba with the story of Alba coming to be.
Right.
So Ugly Mug's kind of on a ride, and
Right.
how do you go all in?
Okay, so Ugly Mug, I basically kind of taught the guys into gearing it down. Let's rebrand this thing. Let's get let's do this thing old school again. So let's get our hands dirty. Let's steam milk by hand. Let's just every part of that. Let's get our fingers in it. And so basically in the process of trying to strip everything back down to this kind of to the bare necessities, to make a good drink, the guys were just kind of like, you know what? I think this is a good opportunity for us to just bow out.
Wow.
And so I was like, and they were great guys. Like I'm not knocking them. So basically what happened is I had this sketch on paper for what I thought maybe this place could look like on the inside. And I have to give credit to some of the crew there too, like some of the original Green Frog guys, guys and gals that were there, because they helped in that even during the Ugly Mug process, because they still worked there. And so a lot of the conversations with those guys were like, oh yeah, we should move the bar here, we should do food here, this is the way that if in a perfect world we would lay this bar out. And
Very cool.
So I sketched the thing out. And so Hal Crocker, the landlord.
Yeah.
So Hal's guys, who are amazing.
Developer.
Yeah. Hal is like Mr. Jackson.
Yeah.
But he loves this place. And so Hal's guys, the construction crew, it was the most amazing thing ever. So I had this pen drawing on paper, and they built exactly what I drew.
Wow.
And I didn't have any, I'm not an architect by any means, so I just had this sketch.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh yeah, we can do that. So over a matter of weeks, they do this thing, and basically Hal was like, well, why don't you just, I think he may have seen something in me that I didn't see, because he was like, hey, why don't you just take this vision and run with it?
Wow.
And so I'll for whatever it is, I tend to err on the side of the bad for me, but basically that's what it looks like. I kind of speaking of tripping and falling into things, I never wanted to own a business.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy. I just thought I just want to work for someone else, kind of do my job, let them kind of call the shots, and then just kind of go home and be home, and then do whatever they need me to do. So it is so strange the way that it happened, and it was just kind of like, okay, there are these images in my head for what this place maybe should look and feel like. Don't really know how to do it. I just know that's it. And so with a lot of help, and we're still trying to tackle it, but so that takes us back to the root of crafting the drink.
Yes.
So we do this, totally change the bar build out, and so this bar now is set up in a way that the barista, which everyone makes fun of me because I pronounce that word a different way every day because I'm from Mississippi. So barista. So anyways, so in our place, at least in theory, hopefully in real life, the barista owns the bar while they're on shift. And so you hope that individual is just a rock star while they're there. These people are the modern day. They're the non-alcoholic bartender. I mean, that's pretty much what it boils down to.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to communicate with people. You've got to be able to kind of basically suck some of the damage out of their life while they're in there.
Yeah.
And give them something so that they get a break in the day. And we start that by moving the bar in front of the door that most people come in first. So that's kind of the first thing you see when you walk in. And so whoever the guy or girl is behind the bar on any given shift, they start by hopefully on paper saying hey to you. And
which I've always received a good welcome in Alba.
Good deal.
Happening. We confirm that.
And so then what we do is we really get picky about how we make drinks. So what we do is we stress to each barista in the place that, like, okay, you are making a product for somebody. We are not just turning a dollar over. Like, this is something that if somebody is gracious enough to give us $3-4 for this drink, let's make it the best $3 or $4 they've spent today. And so there's a couple different parts of that. It's not just the drink that they take in. It's this whole thing of they didn't really buy the drink from us. I hope that what they bought was maybe a peace of mind during the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And so that, to me, that's this kind of ethereal thing
Sure.
that we hope people are paying for, as opposed to just the coffee,
It's as much an art form as it is anything else.
It is. The thing about coffee now is, and so I'll try to keep this train on the rails, I guess, because I've rambled like something terrible.
No, this is fantastic.
So the thing about coffee now is, and the way that we do it now is totally different from the way that I learned. Okay, so when I learned at Rivertown, I was basically an apprentice to, the rock star at the bar. And that was basically how that worked, And so,
Sure.
In my case, it was my friend John, And so John had the experience making the drinks. He made great drinks, and so the goal was for you to be able to match his craftsmanship before he could cut you loose,
Interesting.
And
so there was a form.
There was a form, and but it was more art. Now there's this marriage between art and science that you have to tackle in this modern age. And so what we do now, in the modern age of coffee, we're in the... I've been educated by people I work with who teach me about coffee every day, because they are, hopefully we're all coffee nerds, but man, we have got some serious coffee nerds to shop. And so one conversation with actually Courtney,
Sure.
the shop. So,
yes. Which shout out to Barefoots for crafting. It's the Union Coffee Shop, kind of crafting a coffee community of people that care about the art and science of coffee.
Barefoots is actually they're the cutting edge coffee in this place, with some sidebars to Goose to Java friends from
very
from
much
several years
so,
ago.
John. Yes,
Goose to John is the man.
Yes.
Anyways, these guys, in these discussions, we're in the third wave of coffee. The first wave was what our parents and grandparents enjoyed, and
the best part of waking.
That's it. Or you go to the diner,
you
get whatever coffee they've got on tap.
Burn beans.
Yep. And then the second wave hits, and that's Starbucks. And Starbucks teaches people how to dump chemicals in their coffee, and create something else.
Sure.
Not chemicals, syrup and all that good stuff, and so now the third wave.
Somebody just spit their Frappuccino out on the interstate. Chemicals? Monsanto?
Somebody's so nervous right now. Yeah, or a lot of people. Yeah.
We're going to expose the truth. This is actually an investigative podcast.
Which actually boils down to actually sugar and water.
Right.
So anyways, so the third wave. Where we're at now, people come in and they may even ask, "Hey, what farm did these beans come from?" And you're like, "Are you crazy? I don't,
wild.
There are these brokers that sell these things, and then we've got a roaster, which Bongo Java roast our beans in Nashville. But the thing now is, where people may have grown up on lattes. And now they prefer to drink something like a cortado or a macchiato, and they order this drink where maybe you used to order like a 20-ounce coma in a cup, and now you're pretty content to get a 4-ounce, like I said, a cortado or a macchiato.
Sure.
And enjoy it more like a cigar as opposed to just slamming down a bunch of sugar and milk.
Yes. That's fantastic history. We need to move to segment 3. I want to, before we do our rapid fire, talk a little bit about the performance community you want to form around Alba and just the scene that you want to create, and talk a little bit about downtown Jackson business
and could
community.
you also, if there are any artists or bands out there, because like Luke was saying, you do a lot of work with bands, you do some book promotion and some artwork. Say, for instance, if someone out there had a band and wanted to play at Alba,
Right.
what would the process? Is there an
Right.
audition? Do people come to you with their books or art? And
You know, we are still so stinking new, and one of my problems is that for just being an art nerd and a music nerd myself, I don't ever want to put a damper on that. You know, there are some things that probably won't work in our space. Trying to figure out, you know, there's a fine line between saying, hey, just what you do just doesn't work in here. And it's mainly because what's important to us is the overall environment, the feel when you're in the place. There's certain things that really need to add, everything needs to add to that. What I don't want to be is that guy that gets you know, people coming in that I'm you know, I don't want to be the guy just turning them down when I remember being the kiddo wanting to play music every single weekend and just fighting to find a place to do it. So we don't want to put a damper on that either. So what I normally do, this is awful because I'm so unorganized when it comes to handling this with people. We guys or girls come in, they want to play. A lot of people come in. I have conversations with them. If the biggest thing is for me having a connection with the person themselves.
Yeah.
And as opposed to you know, doing like a tryout or something like that, which down the road, I guess, if we get to be I hope the place where everybody needs to come play to make it or break it in Jackson, I would
Sure.
love to be that place, you know.
The venue.
Right. And so right now, basically what happens is when people come in and ask, you know, if I can personally kind of kick it off with that person, whoever it is, and kind of read into that guy or girl, you know, what they're about, I'm more apt to have them do what they do in our place based on who they are, because that's really what I want, you know, Alba to be about, is just to be about people, who they are, what they're going through, what they're doing. And it's this pie in the sky kind of stuff that a lot of people will maybe brush off. But to me, that's kind of my perspective, is like, hopefully a decade from now, people will be like, hey, that's the place where when we show up, we're friends or we're family. And, you know, these people are looking forward to seeing us come in, you know, so it's not just, like I said earlier, I don't ever want us to just be the place where we're just calculating numbers based on how many people are sitting
Sure.
in the seats.
well, hey, Starbucks started with just a small little kiosk.
Right.
Well, and there's precedent in Jackson. Bubba's
Yeah.
Bagels with the Jacobuses
Right.
was a massive communal success that was profitable for them as well.
There are so many ghosts floating around from Bubba's Bagels.
Yeah.
It's so interesting how many conversations, like, that's what I guess I think first of all, what an honor for us to ever even pop up in the conversation with those people that have been here before, like Gusta, Bubba's, feeling, you know, you can go on down the line, but
Yeah.
man, it's just what an honor for anybody to ever even bring our name up in a conversation with those guys that came before, you know.
Well, and it's amazing because while the third wave has developed nationally, Jackson's actually taken a back seat to
Right.
when maybe it had engaged it a little more preemptively early on, which is a strange thing.
So I'm totally not from this town, and I'll probably totally risk alienating myself with this conversation. But I feel like at some point in time, it seems like Jackson was comfortable just being the bump on the road from Memphis to Nashville.
Sure.
And it was kind of like, okay, well, if we can stop people on the interstate for 40 minutes, then that's who we are.
Well,
Sure.
yeah, they called themselves the Hub City. They still do.
Right. And so what kills me, being not from here, and also and I don't know if maybe this comes back to my love for like Americana stuff. I think maybe that's what it is So this place is the home of Carl Stinkin' Perkins.
Yeah, sure.
Who was the man.
Yep.
And here,
I'm Going to Jackson is written about Jackson, Tennessee.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And
it's an important city.
so there is so much depth and history here that this place would really, I think if you knew of, so there's really amazing things, there's really terrible things, there's really amazing things, and there's just this broad swath that is Jackson that is so much deeper than just being the bump on the road.
Yeah.
And so hopefully what we do is contribute to that in some way. Contribute to, hey, hang out with us for a little bit. Let us tell the story of this place. And for me being a newcomer, hey, come in, tell me the story of this place. Let me know where you're from. Let me know where you're coming from. And so I really want our space to be about that. To what can we contribute to the life of this city, to the life of to the people here, and also and really we just get so much out of the people that come in, and because it's just I have the bad habit of just I ramble in my conversation. I have to tell myself all the time, slow down, listen to this guy. Slow down. Listen to this lady in here.
Wow.
They've got an amazing story. They've got an amazing life. And so that's really what I want to focus on in the place. It's just let's all slow down, hang out, see what's going on in this place, and how do we throw in our 2 cents.
Well, we could not have said it better ourselves. We'll be right back for Rapid Fire with Cole Sanders on Our Jackson Home.
Many years ago I was a professional wrestler, but that ended with a crowbar to the back of my head courtesy of Colonel Mayhem. The crazy thing is that even though that crowbar ended my wrestling career, it unleashed a new skill from the dark recesses of my cerebral cortex: cosmetology. And on the Mat Salon, we offer a full range of services designed to keep you looking young and beautiful. Once, I could pull a man in half like a wishbone. Now I will color, shampoo, and style your hair for one low price. I can also do highlights, perms, and even, let's get ready to Botox! Oh yeah, Botox too, baby. So come on down to On the Mat Salon and let me beat your hair into submission. Complimentary drinks are provided. Call for an appointment at 555-0123.
Welcome back to Our Jackson Home, front porch discussion without the front porch. We are here talking with Cole Sanders, owner and operator of Alba Coffee House in downtown Jackson. And before we get back to asking him a final question, I have a little game for Cole and Luke.
Uh-oh.
It's called What's the Real Coffee House? The game. Now, the rules are pretty simple. I'm going to tell them names of coffee houses. Some of these are real. Some of these are not.
This is amazing.
And we're going to see who is the better coffee house figure-outer namer thing above.
Okay, I like this. Is
All
this a spinoff of Real Band, Fake Band?
Oh, yes. And the winner will get bragging rights and
Hopefully.
not much else.
Yeah, we should probably have T-shirts.
Yes.
I do agree. We'll get T-shirts made. This will be a part of our
Okay.
Our Jackson Home T-shirt line.
Or maybe a gilded front porch. That would be
And
cool.
if someone out
We
here...
actually have handcrafted Our Jackson Home.
And always, if
gilded
someone out there
porches.
has an idea for a future guest or wants a commercial done for their business or has an idea for a future game we could play and possibly a penalty that someone could do and post a video of them performing that penalty on YouTube for losing, feel free to let us know at ourjacksonhome@yahoo.com. All right.
Let's play.
Number 1, brouhaha, real or fake?
Fake.
I say real.
Okay, Luke says fake. Cole says real. And it is real.
Ah, that's a good name.
Ding.
That's a good
Yeah.
name. Where's this at? Do you know where it's at?
This is a Google site I found that I don't have that. But it's all confirmed.
I don't even trust this anymore. I think you're just going to say Cole's right every time.
Oh, no. Cole's
All
not
right.
going to be right every time. Oh.
Brouhaha. We've got a road trip to these places.
Okay.
That's the next
Number
step.
2, bean me up.
Oh, I like that one. You go first. We'll switch
I'm saying
anytime.
fake.
Okay, Cole
I'll
says
go
fake.
real.
Luke says real. Bean me up is real.
Yes.
All right.
So it's 1-1.
I hope
did.
that's in New Mexico. That
That's it.
feels like a very extraterrestrial.
It should be.
Number 3, grind it out.
Oh, that's like a.
That's-
Is that
that's
a
skirting the border
nightclub?
of
That's a
Blue River
nightclub.
right there,
Fake.
yeah.
Hopefully fake.
I'm going to go with real.
Okay, Cole says real, and Luke, is that your final answer?
Final
Are you still
answer.
saying fake?
Final answer. Fake.
Grind it out is fake.
Here we go. Jim, you're mine.
However, back to the grind, nose to the grindstone, and the daily grind are all real.
Okay.
Okay, number 4, pot dealers.
Is this a Denver-based roasting company?
I'm going with real again.
And I'll go
Cole's
with
going with real for pot dealers.
fake.
Luke's going with fake. Pot dealers is fake.
Pot. It's a fantastic name. This has got to be your spinoff.
It's a gamble. I took it. I'm a risk taker.
Okay, this is a neat one since we're basically the Bible of the buckle of the Bible belt here. Hebrews, real or fake?
Oh, I don't even get it. Do you get it? I don't get it.
yeah.
Hebrew. Oh, that's terrible. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. It's real. It's
real.
It's like
Okay, Luke says real.
It's
Yeah.
real.
It
and
is?
I'm gonna say it's real, and I'm gonna say that it is in the fellowship hall of some little country church.
yes.
It is real. Is a Christian-based coffee house.
So bad. That is so bad. We're
As it
calling you
stands
today.
now, the score is Luke 4, Cole 2.
Oh man.
And he owns a coffee house.
I'm off to a commanding lead with a good name though. That's the
Oh, yeah.
problem.
All right, next, number 6. There are 13 of these for Baker's Dozen since your coffee house also does baked goods. That's a pun. Anyway, number 6,
Jim, you would definitely open Hebrews after that.
Diuretic Delights.
Oh my God. Go ahead.
I'm gonna go with no because I hope that
Yes,
it's not.
I'll go with real just because I've lost faith in humanity.
Okay, Luke says real. Cole says fake. It is fake. Cole
Ah.
gets that point. But Jitters, Jitterbean, and Jitter Java are all real names of coffee
believe
houses.
it.
Okay, I like Jitter Java.
All right, number 7, the Bruise Brothers.
Oh,
real or fake?
Totally real.
Yeah. I agree. That's got to be real.
Both say real, and both are correct.
All right.
Okay, number
Where
8.
we at? 5-4?
Luke has 5, and Cole has 4.
All right.
Number 8, Cafe Grumpy.
Fake.
Luke says fake.
Man, I'm coming from behind here. Let's roll with it. It's real.
Oh, he's throwing the dice on the table.
Cole says real. Luke says fake. Score is 5-4, but now it is tied.
Oh,
right.
Come from
Yes.
behind.
Number 9, closing in. Java, Trout, Espresso, Internet, Bar, and Gifts. Real or fake?
Man, this must be in the back of a gas station, though. Real.
Okay.
Wait, hold on.
I'll
Java
repeat
Trout.
that. Java, Trout, Espresso, Internet, Bar, and Gifts. That's the full name.
It's It's got to be in Anchorage. It's got to be real.
So you're saying real?
Yeah.
Score is still tied. You are both right. However, this place recently went out of business, probably because they had no space on their business card left.
That would that would have been an interesting choice for you as judge if one of us had gone real. All right,
Oh, yes.
go ahead.
Number 10, dark ring on the table.
Oh, disgusting! Please be fake. I don't.
Luke says
I mean, I
fake.
guess I get it. Why does that gross me out so much?
The ring of coffee.
I get
on the
it.
table.
Yeah.
I'm going to say fake.
Both say fake. Both are right. Still tied.
All right. How many we got left here?
You have 3 left.
All right.
Number 11, donkey coffee and espresso.
Real.
Fake.
Okay, Cole says real. Luke says fake, was it?
Yes, fake.
Cole just pulled ahead.
Oh,
It is
no.
real.
You got to play for the win on the road.
That's that. I agree.
You got to play for the
You
win.
can't come into the home studio here and
No.
take me out, though.
You got to.
Number 12, buzz. Just buzz.
Real.
Real.
Both right. Luke is still ahead.
No.
I mean, Cole is still
Yeah,
ahead.
Cole's
Thank you.
ahead.
All right.
So what happens if I tie it up here? We have to have a playoff round.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Cole is ahead by 1. Luke has to get this right to tie. If he ties, we'll go to a tiebreaker.
All right.
The trembling cup.
Real.
Luke says real.
No. I'm saying no because I want it to be false.
And you're a
It
gentleman
is
and a scholar for that.
Real. We're going to a tiebreaker.
Oh!
The
Hey,
score
thanks
is
for making
now
the game
tied.
interesting. I know you wanted to go. All right. Let's do
Okay. The score is now tied. The tiebreaker is Bean Me Up, Scotty. Bean Me Up, Scotty.
Real. I think that's real.
No.
Cole says fake. Luke says real.
Give it to us, Joe.
Luke is the winner.
Whoa!
I went to it myself in Portland, Oregon.
Portland.
We also saw the human being. The
Wow.
human being. So that's been
Wow.
What's the Real Coffee House with Cole Sanders, owner and operator of Alba Coffee, and our very own Luke Pruett.
I like that game. I particularly like the design, the set design here. Jim just went into like a flashing suit when that game started. It was
Oh, yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Now, Luke has a extra question here for Cole. Do you not?
Tell us, we've talked a lot about coffee. What other features do you have?
Yeah,
Jim has raved about this dark chocolate and goat cheese brownie we
yes.
had.
I mean, do you
Right.
come up with all
Right.
the? Because you.
No, I wish that I could take credit for coming up with that stuff. We actually originally had some help a month or 2 ago from a lady named Jennifer that was actually a shelf associated with Elegant Farmer in Memphis.
Oh, very cool.
And so she came in and did a little consulting with us. Actually, is now going to be operating her own place called Chandelier in the Neely House.
Oh, great. Yeah,
So
we read
she's
about
going to be
that.
doing kind of like I think she's aiming for like a brunch thing, and I'll put a little ad in here for
Yeah.
like a brunch thing and to do catering out of there, but like a weekend, like a nicer restaurant on the weekend kind of thing,
Great.
and maybe catering through the week. So all right, so she gave us a few ideas. Of course, because that's her thing. That's what she does every minute of the day. All right, so what happened after that was within the last month, we've actually managed to acquire an actual convection oven. And I have to give credit to basically the ladies of the shop because Heather Lutz, big
Yeah.
shout out to Heather
Come
because
on, Heather.
Heather is slaving away behind that oven.
Wow.
Probably about 2 or 3 days a week now. So basically, I just let them run with it. Like, hey, what do you guys want to play with this week? We're starting to nail things down, but those brownies are like kind of getting to be a staple here, you know.
Yeah.
So That we also are rolling with muffins now. Heather's actually been making the last couple weeks a pumpkin cheesecake. That's amazing.
Fantastic. I'm getting really hungry.
Now, I have a suggestion. You guys,
Yeah, let's
if you
go.
guys can run with this,
Right.
feel free to use it. You have coffee ice cream, coffee flavored bubble gum. Lay's even has a cappuccino flavored potato chip
Right.
out now. I'm thinking, because it's already cold, what if you guys came up with spiced coffee cakes? Coffee cakes that have the flavor of, say, Irish cream,
Right.
or like a bourbon or something like that.
It's a good idea. It's amazing. The thing that I like about it is, so we kind of, this is how things make the cut to us. Hopefully all of our food, somehow anything you would chew on in the store and not just swallow, is anything that you would chew on in the store, hopefully some way complements our drinks.
Yes.
You know, in
Wow, very
some
cool.
way. So that, and there are things that you're just like, oh, how on earth does a tuna melt?
Yeah.
You know, go with my latte.
Sure.
So there are some things out there that are just kind of like, maybe it doesn't complement the drink, but hopefully it complements coziness, you know, like stuff like that. So if it doesn't complement the drink, that's the first thing to make the list is somehow these things up here, I want to stare at it and imagine soaking that joker in like 12 ounces of coffee.
There was
great.
an neat coffee shop I went to in Seattle. They had piped a pipe system from their roaster,
Oh,
all
yeah.
that smells, and ran it up through the wall, and they had a sign outside that was a coffee cup. And they had the steam to where it was coming out of the coffee cup.
Oh, how cool.
And the steam was the smell from the roaster and all the other things that was
man,
going
that's
on in
amazing.
there.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's another thing is when we bake. I'll give this extra 2 cents, I guess. Is we kind of also try to bounce things around to not overwhelm the smell of the. It's funny
Yeah.
that you brought that up, because when you walk in the shop, I mean, if I walk in a coffee shop, I want to smell coffee.
Yes.
You know, like some of the things we do, like we do bacon on breakfast sandwiches, you know, so like at some point it smells like bacon. Who's going to complain about that? Not very many people.
Sure.
But bacon makes everything better.
The fried pickle tension in Green Frog of
Oh,
old,
yeah.
right? Tim had this amazing
Right.
sandwich, but frying pickles is a dominating smell.
It is. And so, like, I hear these nightmare stories about the folks that would, like, now when you go home, your clothes smells like coffee. So some of the kiddos were like, oh, man, we smell like fried pickles every day.
Yes.
But everybody in town loved that sandwich, you know.
It's
There's
a
still
fantastic
people that come in and
sandwich.
say, like, there are these ghosts of Green Frog, you know, that, like,
Sure.
and
And space is an issue. You're
is.
working with only so much square footage,
It
which is a
is.
great intimate thing, but it's also can be a
Right.
challenge,
and
I
we,
imagine.
And we also, there are things in there, like we don't have a vent hood or a grease trap or stuff like that. So so you have to get creative in the way that you make your food. So we've kind of, we can really appreciate the patience of everyone that has been, helping us play with our menu really the last few months.
Wow, very cool.
Because ideally, when I got rolling with this thing, I was totally not comfortable with food whatsoever. I was thinking, okay, we're going to open a coffee shop, and in a few months, maybe. Because I was thinking we can just have a lean, mean crew here, make the most amazing drinks in Jackson, hopefully, and then eventually kind of get into the food thing. But just the nature of the business is you got to have something for lunch because you're downtown, and all these people, which all their options are growing now.
Yes, very much so. Community Cafe was a guest on the show.
Yeah. Oh man, what a place.
Yeah.
How can you not love Community Cafe?
We're really proud of what they're doing.
Yeah.
And see what you're doing is complimentary in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I hope so. I think that I think our perspectives are the same.
Yeah.
Of course, it's two totally different models in how you run the place.
Sure.
But I hope that our love for people maybe translates the same. I hope, or hopefully, at least eventually, I hope that that's the point that gets across. So.
And I felt that. We had the Hardens, Alice Calvary, and her
Yes.
band on a couple weeks ago, and I felt that the night there was love in the air the night
Right.
that y'all hosted that show. It was
Right.
fantastic for their album release party. So
Oh,
I think you're
man,
cultivating an environment of
I'll
that.
tell you what, I think that's the most fun night that we've had in that place. And for me, I think I told, I don't remember who all I told this to, but I was like, I haven't felt like this in a shop since Rivertown in Florence.
Wow.
And so there was something about that, that was just like, oh man, this is what we did in Florence 3 or 4 nights a week.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing to be able to do it here. I hope that we get to the point where we're doing that here 3 or 4 nights a week. We were just one of the places in Florence. You come in, which we were in the Shoals. Any number of singer-songwriters just pop in, hang out with us.
Right.
You
Right. Well, the Tri-Cities have done a really good job of holding on to their heritage. It feels like there. And Jackson's more of a reclamation project than a holding
really
on
is.
to.
It really is. And being an outsider, and not, it's so easy for me to walk in and say what happened.
Sure.
When you live here, it happened over a period of time.
Sure.
But for me, being an outsider, come in, you're like, what happened? Where, there's so much stuff here. Tell me about it.
Yes.
But if you've lived here, your life, it's these things are like incremental, and I know it's not something where all of maybe all of a sudden one day you're like, oh yeah, let's start telling our story again.
Yeah.
I hope, and people are.
Definitely.
People are.
Well, I think you nailed it earlier with the interstate conversation, right?
Right.
One of the major differences between Florence and the Tri-Cities and the expansion of Jackson is Jackson had real market holds in the 70s and 80s when interstate and chain restaurants were blowing up. And we're thankful for that market. It produces jobs and everything, but the risk that it can sometimes forebode is expansion to the point beyond your story and losing your story. And I think there's great interest in holding on to what has been preserved and really reclaiming and reinvestigating what that story is. So, man, thank you, Cole, for betraying your Mississippi roots and becoming a Tennessean. Thank you to Alba Coffee. People, there's great coffee in Jackson. Get downtown, enjoy it, and go Bulldogs today.
Oh, man, Hell State.
Hell State.
Hell State.
All right. Well,
I should have brought my cowbell.
Oh, man, that would have been terrifying and awesome. Well, big thanks to the owner and operator of Alba Coffee in downtown Jackson. Go check them out. And thanks for listening to Our Jackson Home.